I'm here to share a model build of the AndyT little mixer. It's a 1/24 scale model kit that has been built with additional features, electronics, lights to help it bring the model to life, if you like. This is the box. You recognise most probably this. Quite an iconic box, just been re-released again, so I was very pleased to pick one up. Been waiting for this for quite some time. My inspiration for William the Concreter, which is kind of a nice little name online, is really founded by these two things. One was a little comical sketch, and the other was by an actual concrete mixer that I was told about. I've de-chromed all the sprues on the right hand side. That's all the creamy style sprues, because of changing the colour of them, but you'll see that as we go along. I've also had to modify the parts because I wanted the drum to turn. So in order to do that, I needed to find a center point for the spindle to go right the way through the drum and through another piece of model kit. And that was basically here. And what we're seeing is obviously that I've drawn a chord across here. That's that line across here. And then from that, I've drawn a perpendicular line up. I've done the same thing from the other sides to give me a center point to drill through, and that's the way of finding the center of a circle. Now I was going to drive the drum from a rubber band that just pulls around, but I realized that in order for the rubber band to get grip, it was going to have some sort of tension on there, and it was always going to be pulling the drum off to one side, and it was going to bind. So I resorted to another idea, but I still took these photographs just so that you could see where I was going with this and where the actual motor mount was going to be positioned down in the chassis. I also modified the engine. I added a distributor which wasn't in the kit, so that I could add in the HT leads because the engine's on display. Next came the painting. Obviously I put it into primer first, having first of all cleaned it, and then I gave it a couple of top coats, which I let dry in the sun, which is very nice. It gave a really nice shine. The base is made from my favourite Ferrero Rocher box. I'm not sponsored by Ferrero Rocher, although I'd be more than happy to be. I get friends, relations, etc. to give me empty Ferrero Rocher boxes. All donations are gratefully received and accepted, and I then modify them. Now, this being the biggest box, what I do is I cut it into 3 pieces, and then I add these extra pieces of plastic in here, styrene, plastic card, just to form the base back up again, and I end up with 3 bases out of one part of a Ferrero Rocher box. So if it's a big Ferrero Rocher box like this, I'd actually end up with 6 bases, which is stunningly good value considering it was going to get chucked away anyway. So the wiring, okay, so I decided I've got to wire in my usual inimitable fashion. I wire all the lights and get all sorts of things up and running, and here you can see me starting to bring all the wiring down into the chassis so that I can actually get it ready to go down into the base. Now along this section here I'm using a red tube. It's actually heat shrink tubing, but I'm not going to heat it because I don't want to shrink it. I want to use it as a conduit just to guide the cables, the wires through, and then I'm gluing at the moment. I'm gluing that bit of heat shrink to the chassis. Here you can see I'm bringing yet more wires along down from the top There's obviously the beacons, which you can just see here in the top of the roof of the cab before I touch in and disguise the wiring and everything. So there's two there. There's obviously the headlights too, and then there's the indicators at the front, and then at the back I've added in an extra plate which carries the indicators and the brake lights. Once I've got all the wiring through and I've tested it, I then bring it through down into the base where I label it, and these points here, these 3 points, are actually the points where I pin and glue the tyres of the model into the base, so it can't fall off. I don't want it going anywhere, so to speak. And here is the direct drive motor for the drum, and the direct drive motor, on the end of the motor, it has a planetary gearbox to slow the speed of this motor down. So the electronics are controlled by a 14M2 pickaxe chip, and here we see the pickaxe chip in the top left hand corner. It's quite reasonable, you know, it's in terms of memory and I and O pins, and so 5 outputs, 5 inputs, 6 outputs, but again they can be mixed, so you can do so many things with it. It's quite unreal, and for £2.71 it's ridiculously cheap. You can get them from RK Education. I tend to buy them sort of like 10 at a time. It's so cheap, it's unreal. So internally, the pinouts look like this. So pin 1 to pin 14 going anti-clockwise, and then on this side you'll see that I've got a number of bits and pieces which, when you look at the PCB, will make more sense. So for instance, here I've got two 330 ohm resistors. Those are the two 330 ohm resistors there, and they link to those pins there, which in turn get wired out to the amber LEDs on the cab of the roof. Now these green links go to the read relays, so we've got headlights, brakes, indicators to the left, indicators to the right, and the other one on this side is a 1K resistor which links to the base of this transistor. It's a Darlington transistor, it's a BCX38C. The base, the emitter goes down to earth or to ground, and the collector drives a negative out here. There's a separate positive run in, and just to stop any back EMF and stuff like that from the motor, I've got an IN4001 diode here. Now programming the chip is really very, very easy, and even if you don't know BASIC as a language, then this piece of software, which is the Pickaxe editor, which comes for free, can be downloaded, and then literally by choosing a flowchart you can choose a particular symbol for a particular function, and then you can get it to do things. You can get it to wait, you can get it to operate an output, and it checks it for you as well and identifies any errors you might have made, and then if you want to, you can simulate it. So even if you haven't got the chip, you can still for free download this, have a go at programming, see if you think, oh, that seems to work, and then if you decide you want to go the next stage and buy a chip, then you can test it out and play with it. So once programmed, I put the PCB into the base and I power it with this 18650 rechargeable battery. The rechargeable battery has a USB charger here. I buy these in because they are really super cheap, and then I use a 2mm fibre optic which I push through the side, transmit the light from the charging indicators, red is for charging, and then it changes to blue with another little LED. The switch to the right hand side is just a plain power on off switch, and then I use the channeling to put the wires in and just tidy them up and make them look nice. The number plates, I went straight online and I just searched the internet for someone who would allow me to put in a pseudo number plate and pictorially display it to me, which I then screenshotted and then printed it out using my colour laser printer. The 3D resin parts have been obtained from Thingiverse for the STL files, which I then put into my Elegoo Mars printer, printed them off at the appropriate scale, and there we have it. Let me introduce you to, this is Bill. Bill will come into action a little bit later. Bill likes to take it out occasionally and show that he can still run concrete errands with the rest of the team. There we are. All right. Okay. So the first thing you can see is that the rotating beacons on the top are standard 5mm LED, but what I've done in programming is to ramp the flash up and back down again, and then have a pause between going from this LED to that LED where the same thing happens. Then we have obviously our indicators, which in the moment or at the moment are in hazard mode, and then obviously the headlights come on, and note the number plate 1066, and like all good truckers, he likes to put his name up the top, so when other truckers are coming by they can call him up on their CB radios. So around the side we can see that the engine has got all the plumbing on it for the HT leads and so on, and coming around the side we've got the name of the company on the side, William the Concreter. The traffic cones have been 3D printed in resin, and they are obviously there as you'd normally expect to advise traffic to just keep out of the way. There's some spare concrete chutes on the side here, and at the back we have the wheelbarrow, which is again 3D printed, and Bill with his high-vis vest and obviously his name on the vest as well. Got to be, you know, up in keeping. And then obviously we see the concrete coming down the chute and pouring into the wheelbarrow, ready for the delivery. So there we are. It's quite something. Obviously with the drum rotating, I've thoroughly enjoyed building this. To be able to do all the gold detail, the line detail round the windscreen and round the cab, you know, it's a lovely shape. It's such an iconic shape for this Ford of this era. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you again for watching, and please subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye bye for now.